Hey, everybody, I got Andy Schectman and your questions right here in front of me. So we're going to try to get through these as best as we can. How you doing, brother?
Good to see you guys, Chris, Stacy. It's good to be back, and I'm doing well. Hope you guys are too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and check out the gold silver prices. Give us a call with Miles Franklin, broker, if you want to buy gold and silver. And let's start out with the
Yeah, it's
number
on
one question.
sale.
Yeah, it's on sale. So start out with it. This
All
is the
right.
question I get asked the most.
How is spot and premium price calculated?
Yep.
So that's a tough one. Let's start with the spot price. So the spot price is something that's a little bit opaque in the respect that it's calculated off of the most actively traded forward futures month, and then there's a switch that you use. It's a mathematical formula that you take off the time between where you are and when that futures contract comes off the board. And that's why you'll see that there's a very small variance between one company to the next, to the next, to the next, but it's all based off of the same number, and that is the forward month futures contract. The switch, the mathematical formula that you back out the time measurement, is often a little bit different. But in general, there shouldn't be more than a very fraction of a percent difference between one spot price versus another. It's really important to note, however, that there's a bid price and an ask price. And the bid price is when you are selling, the ask price is when you are buying. And so calling apples to apples, ask price should always be pretty darn close from one company to the next, but it's based off of the most actively traded forward futures contract. Back out the time difference between where you are and when that contract comes off the board, and you get a current spot price. Premium is a different story altogether. Premium is a function of two separate things. It's a function of production, distribution, advertising for the mint, transportation, all the things that go into producing an ounce of gold or silver from a blank disc, or planchet as it's called, to the end user as it's delivered to you in coin form, in a tube or in a box or whatever it may be. That's part of it. The other part is the supply and the demand. And so it's a situation based primarily off of supply and demand, because the production costs are usually pretty consistent. We know what we're going to pay from the mints, if all things being considered, if markets are normal. But since 2020, it's been anything but normal. The premiums have gradually risen, and for the most part haven't come back down, albeit the last 30 days or so have been the lowest premiums that we've seen really in the past 2 years, as we've had a little bit of a slowdown as gold and silver have pulled back. Gold's off $300 from its high, silver's off $8 or $9 from its high. That wears on people, so there's not as much demand. The premium comes down, the supply increases, but it's a very fragile market. And as demand picks up, you can expect those premiums to increase as well. It's also important to note, and Stacy, you know this now after being in the business a little while, you get a good portion of that premium on sellback. Let me give you another example of how sometimes you actually get more premium on sellback than when you purchased it. So for most of my career, especially as a US Mint authorized reseller, being very high up on the food chain, working with all of the primary distributors in the US Mint, if you would have bought Silver Eagles from me, you would have paid, most of my career, about $3.29 over the price of silver, always. And had you called me the day before Thanksgiving 2019, before everyone's life was turned upside down unexpectedly, that's what you would have paid. If the question would have come up, well, what will you buy them back for? The answer would have been roughly $2.65 over the price of silver. So a spread of roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 cents. And that was consistent even when silver was 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 20. Those numbers stayed consistent. had you made that purchase the day before Thanksgiving 2019 and then called back to sell those same coins 4 months later in April or March of 2020, the bid price would have been $11 over the price of silver. So you paid $329 or $339, you got 11 back 4 months later. Premium is mostly a function of supply and demand, not just the production and distribution costs. And as far as the spot price is concerned, I'm making it sound slightly more complicated than it really is. It's only to say that there isn't one specific calculation to work back off the forward spot month, but they should all be really, 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 really close and consistent. So I hope that helps. I know it's a little bit confusing, but I think you'll see by looking at one company to the next and looking at their price, it should never be more than 30 or 40 cents on gold and 5 or 10 cents on silver difference from one company to the next. And that's about it.
Okay, so the next question I get asked pretty much daily is, why do some companies, when you get online, they do not show the spot price and the premium, they just give you a basic price, where every time someone calls us as Miles Franklin, I'm able to tell them, yep, here's your spot and here's your premium.
Well, I think most companies are probably even a little bit more transparent than we are. We do it verbally. You can see the spot price and the premium on most sites, and our new website will have all of that, which will be launched in August. But you know, you look at any of the online sites, they'll quote the spot price, and then you can see the tiered prices. You just have to work the math backwards. You know, I think that the truth of the matter is that premium is constantly changing, constantly. And there, over the last couple of years, it's just been something that changes on a continual basis, nonstop. And so from one day to the next, even, and especially as we've seen a increase in demand from 2019 to 2020 to 2021 and to where we are right now, that demand and the volatility in the market that we've seen has created a constant juggling of the premium. So it's just something that would be reflected in the total price minus the spot price. Well, there's your premium. The only thing about it is that it's continually changing, and there's no, it will be. It's just basis, like as an example, the US Mint called us up a week ago or 2 weeks ago and said, hey, we're cutting in half for the rest of the year our entire allocation of gold eagles. And so we would expect for the rest of the year to see premiums rise on gold eagles because the Mint just bang, with no warning, just cut it in half. They've done the same thing without any advance notice with silver eagles all year. They've been the model of inefficiency, producing very, very little. And so you have high premiums, you have great demand, high premiums, and very little supply meeting that demand. And so it's just really, really, I guess it's something that changes so rapidly that it's just has to free flow. I guess there's no easy way to tell people what the premium is when it could change literally the day after it was posted on that site and change dramatically in some cases.
All right. So Matt asked, are central banks involved in price manipulation? And try to make it as clear. I really want everybody to understand this.